as the base. Now we in Africa, as the Bantu people, we have something that is called Ubuntu. Ubuntu then means, it means that another being is a sovereign being, but I'm also a sovereign being. However, the other being is because I am, and I am because of another. So that dissolved all narcissism, that dissolved all self-importance and the egoic nature that we all come up with. It dissolves all that because everyone then is invited to enter into the state of Ubuntu. And the state of Ubuntu says that you need to realize that you are consciousness first. And of course, you manifest whatever you manifest as energy. So this is Ubuntu. When we say Ubuntu, the wrong translation is that it's a human being, but actually the real original translation is that you are a sacred being. You are a divine being, because Ubuntu is consciousness, or God, if we like. And that then makes everyone then say, oh, okay, we need to honor what we're doing. Where science said there is no sacredness, there is no God, the scientists then started to realize that, well, if there's no God, but there is consciousness, there is sacredness in consciousness because it's natural. Where someone who came from the village who had an aversion towards science, then realizes that there is the science of Ubuntu and the Ubuntu of science. So ideally, this is how I managed to facilitate my work as my incarnation objective, but also my professional work. And with it, then I designed models. Well, I didn't thumbsuck them. I sat with elders and they showed me how they used to do things in order to organize society, how to govern society. And I said, this can be used as models for governance within the professional setting, even though there may be policies and frameworks and laws and all those things. But the way of Ubuntu is supreme to all these other man-made principles that we put in place. So this is, in short, how I managed to then morph my professional work and my sacred work. Sorry, I can't hear you, Thomas.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. If I may ask you directly to that, because as I was listening to you, I felt what you're doing right now, as you're talking to us, is a form of sacred activism. Because what you're introducing in the wisdom of African people, and I'm just using the word Ubuntu, and I'm very aware that even the attempt to translate the word Ubuntu is maybe already the wrong approach, because if I try to translate this word, I already try to translate it to my own cosmology that is deeply trained in our Western individualized cosmology that in itself is already something that Ubuntu is not.
Yes.
So there's maybe, I guess there's a tension or friction that even I would say is not possible to overcome, that I have to also just embrace. But what happens by doing this, that you, because you are kind of also living in both worlds, you are exposed to Western cosmology, you are deeply also rooted in the cosmology of your own people, that you allow to make these different cosmologies to become somehow a little bit transparent to each other, not by nailing it down and so now I know what you're talking about, but by getting a sense that this is maybe something that, however you want to put it, that may be lost in our European enlightenment process. And I'm not, in that sense, critical. I think there's a lot that is very positive what Western enlightenment is about, but it has its own shadow sides. Yes. And in that, doing what you're doing in your work and bringing this into this conversation opens up something that I also would call sacred.
Mm. Yes, yes, indeed. To me, sacred simply means natural.
Mm.
It's that simple.
Mm.
That which is inherently natural is sacred. And if it's sacred, it's divine. And the activism then, in this context, then means that that which is natural is alive, it's active. So sacred activism then would, of course, we'll go deeper into this, but I feel then, yes, you're right, that what I'm doing in terms of my work, it's really sacred activism, because it's saying that we don't have to misinterpret anymore, or misappropriate, or misrepresent, but we just need to immerse ourselves into what is, as you said, to embrace and embody that which is natural. And because it's conscious, then it will direct us in such ways that it wants to express itself in nature. So the challenge that we had on the African continent, of course, was that in accepting certain cosmologies, we were oppressed in such a way that there was no room to say, hey, we can actually morph all these cosmologies together and perpetually build something new. What Africa experienced was an antagonistic way of living together, whereas the central point of Ubuntu is that without you, I cannot exist. Without me, you cannot exist, and therefore, it was difficult for the mind of an African to say, I cannot be one with another. Ubuntu simply means that Ubuntu, the basis of Ubuntu is love, is sharing, is harmony, is order. Is the fact that I am because you are. We are one. We are one consciousness. Inherently even in the physical form, in its myriadness, it's the same energy at its core. So what we need to do is to understand that every nation was blessed by wisdom. What we need to then conceive is that all these knowledge systems, if we see the sacredness of all these knowledge systems, then we'll see that all these knowledges are universal. And therefore, we don't have, there's no bone of contention. There is no turf wars that we need to fight. All that we need to do is to say, how can we bring everything together in the spirit of Ubuntu? How can we harmonize all this wealth of knowledge and create something new for the sake and benefit of the whole?
That's beautiful, Aunkh. I part of what I find so interesting in my experience of what you're saying is that I hear you speaking about Ubuntu, and I realize that there's something about it that is much deeper than I can grasp. You know, that you're bringing this this term and this you know, that which is just the tip of the iceberg of a whole knowledge system and a whole cosmology. That there is something here that I don't know, and in that, and it's like what we do with that experience is to shut down or try to assert, particularly from the West, try to assert something on top of it, but to stay with the mystery that you're pointing to. You know, in the West, I think, you know, we see each other co-created, but often through the dynamic of projection. We project out the things that we don't like to create the other. But you're saying there's something much more fundamental than that. That it's not a projection. It's a co-enlivenment. That we're together as human beings in ways that are mutually reciprocal, and it's that the nature of our shared aliveness and even I would say that part of what you're pointing to with these knowledge systems is that they each have a different power, wisdom, source, or not necessarily source, but they bring something different forward of what it means to be human. And each one of those things is beautiful and sacred, and that we need them all.
Yes. Yes. All knowledge systems are supposed to be complementary. And you're putting it beautifully, that what I'm saying is not something that needs to be grasped. It's something that needs to be experienced. So hence the ancients usually say that you don't know it until you live it. Whereas in the West, usually when we are informed, then that constitutes knowledge. But in Africa, I may be informed about something, but if I haven't experienced it yesterday and tomorrow as today consistently, then I don't know it. This is what makes an African knowledge system becomes different. Hence, I mentioned that the antagonistic nature or the projection that you're talking about was that there was the instead of others seeking the need to experience it, they sought the need to just perceive it in a way, then become a mental exercise, and in the projection, then the misrepresentation and the misunderstanding. So what we feel we should be doing within the context of sacred activism is also to realize that it's not even about human beings, actually. The beauty of this is that it cannot be personalized as as just a human experience. The sacredness of it is natural, therefore it's all encompassing. It encompasses time and space because we exist within it. If we don't honor it, then we won't really perceive the laws of nature, which is very, very important. If we then honor time and space as part of this sacredness, then we honor the modes of nature. We honor other kingdoms or queendoms of living and so-called non-living entities. The animals, the way we treat animals today, it's really demoniac. And because we don't even know how to treat animals and nature where we're living in, plants and reptiles and water, then it has become very easy for us then to take each other for granted. Hence the wars, hence the recently in the past 2 weeks, leaders of the world saying certain things about other nations. This is how degraded we have become in failing to understand this simple thing: I am because you are. So